And we are live again. Another week with my good friend Larry Johnson from sonar21.com. People, don't forget to like, share, subscribe this video. Also, don't forget to subscribe to sonar21.com, the best analysis outlet we can see on the web today. Larry, how are you doing, my good friend?
I'm doing well. I'm doing much better than Greenland or Venezuela or Ukraine. So it's all relative.
Not sure if the cutting line is well drawn, but all right, it's surely I'm better than those places. Larry, I would like to start today with Iran. Has the color revolution failed? Because we have discussed last week that Starlink has been jammed, and there was those 60,000 weapons that was seized going to Tehran.
Yeah.
We have our mutual friends there that so far, even yesterday, you put a video on countercurrents from your conversation with Professor Morandi and Nima. How do you think is the situation going there? Do you think there's still a chance for new heat up revolutions, or is it done?
Well, it's done for now. The West, the United States, and Israel will continue, along with the Brits, will continue to try to destabilize the government of Iran and force a regime change, compel the removal of the Ayatollah and the mullahs, and the Islamic Council, to end the Islamic Revolution. That's the goal. But it has failed so far, and there is an enormous amount of propaganda being generated in the West and disseminated in the West to suggest that the government of Iran is very fragile and they're very vulnerable and that there's enormous opposition to them. It's not true, but that's the narrative that's being fed in the West. With one of the goals of putting out that kind of disinformation is to condition the public so that they'll be willing to support a military attack when it comes. It could be in the next few weeks. It may be postponed until later in the spring, the start of the spring. But I don't see the United States at all backing off from it. Backing off from trying to eliminate Iran and the mullahs.
Yeah, this week we saw the dude with the chick's name, kind of disappointed on stuff, and that for me was perhaps the biggest indication that well, the United States is going to sit down at least for now. And just yesterday, 2 days ago, we saw a demonstration from Iran, test with the what they claim to be a 10,000 kilometers ICBM missile.
Yeah, I've seen that report. I've seen that report. I don't know if it's true or not. That's the problem. It's you get a lot of this information out there that's spread that just absolutely may not be true.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, we saw that Trump kind of backed down from the attacks on Iran. Well, at least for now. Do you think that those things could be correlated? Do you think that Donald Trump asked for the brown pants?
Say that again.
Do you think that Donald Trump asked for the brown pants?
I don't understand the question.
You don't know the joke? The pirate?
No.
When he was asking for the red T-shirt so the other pirates don't see he bleeding, and then 10 corvettes follow them, and he asked for the brown pants.
Oh, okay. I got you now. Yeah. No, I think I think Trump is actually suffering mentally, and he's demented, and the people around him, instead of pointing out, say, yeah, the guy here, this is not the Donald Trump that was around 10 years ago. This is an impaired Donald Trump, and he's showing one of the signs is what I wrote about it last night called confabulation. The example of confabulation is his claim that he stopped 8 wars, that he's brought peace into 8 different situations. That's completely not true. I mean, not at all. The only one that could possibly suggest that, where there was the U.S. government played a mediation role that Trump had nothing to do with, was between Armenia and Azerbaijan, but yet there's still nothing firm, no firm agreement there yet either. But his insistence that he solved India and Pakistan, kept them from going to war, and there's Vietnam and Cambodia. These are delusional beliefs. But the problem is he actually believes that what he's saying is true. And it's when people engage in what's called confabulation, where they tell stories or report events that are not true, that didn't happen, but they genuinely really believe that they did happen. That's a sign of it's an early sign of dementia. It's one of the symptoms that doctors use to judge if someone's has a mental dysfunction. Trump has that, and yet nobody's stepping in to, I call it taking the car keys away from grandpa.
Yeah, I read that article from yesterday, and I actually I have some doubts about it, because I think we should take the car keys from the United States at the moment because it's a train wreck. I'm
Well,
not
It's,
sure. I
it's
mean,
dangerous, but nobody's doing anything. I mean, look at Brazil.
exactly,
Brazil's,
exactly.
doing nothing.
Yeah, well, Brazil is not in a position to counter the United States. It's a shame to say that. We should be. There are actually movements inside of Brazil to make Brazil great again, or something like bigger,
Yeah,
bigger.
big.
But even that at this point with our structure, it seems like Brazil is it's alone. I've been saying this since the beginning of the channel. We are in a different rock. We are in the Americas, so the our uh, big empire is the United States. The one that we should counter, let's say, or at
Mhm.
least balance, is the United States. And I don't think China and Russia, even with BRICS, I really don't believe that China and Russia will come for the rescue. I mean, it's not their job. A- And the indication seems so far that BRICS it's a block where, well, you have a responsibility. You take the lead of your responsibility. Otherwise, it's your problem. Something like that. Yeah, but in the case of Venezuela, I really do believe that Brazil should have done slightly more than rough talking on the UN.
Well, I mean, let's. What could Brazil have done? Well, Brazil could have started reaching out to the leaders of Chile, Bolivia. Keep Argentina out of it because Malay is just a whore. Uh, but Ecuador, Colombia, and then go into Central America. Reach out to create a genuine, bring the different nations of Central and South America together to protest. You don't have to say you like Maduro, but to protest, this U.S. Aggression. What the United States did. We always find a good excuse for saying it was we're doing the right thing for the right reason, but that's a lie. To my knowledge,
Yeah,
Brazil didn't do that. Didn't do that at all.
yeah, exactly. One of the things that I've been saying, that I've been seeing as an excuse, because I call it excuse from journalists that are aligned with the government, with the Brazilian government, is that, for example, Brazil is trying to bridge this deal with European Union with Mercosur and European Union to kind of bring Mercosur back together, because Mercosur nowadays is just a fragmented piece of deal. I really do not see, if the country is not able to call its counterparts, its country friends, because we are part of a bloc, and fix the deals, and it needs to make a terrible deal with the European Union to fix it. Well, there's no one actually riding the horse. We don't even have the car keys. Let's put it like that.
Yeah. Well, Brazil's future is with BRICS. Now, whether it will fully embrace and take that on remains to be seen. But the days of Western dominance are numbered, and we're I think the key factor is the collapse of the U.S. economy. That you can't. What the U.S. is doing is unsustainable, and we're starting to see signs of the instability with what's happening to the price of gold and the price of silver that has just exploded over the last 2-3 months. So, 6 months ago, you could buy an ounce of silver for, $35, $40. Now you're paying over 90, 100. So that's a sign, that's like if you're not feeling well and then you take your temperature and your temperature is 104 degrees. That lets you know you got a problem.
Yeah, exactly. But since we went to the United States, Larry, I would like to talk about this board of peace that Trump is trying to create. Is Trump trying to, go ahead, because it really seems like a trend that BRICS or at least the SEO and BRICS together, and all these other blocks are trying to keep the UN alive, but at the same time, at some point, they are going just to, shrug the shoulders and live their lives or build something different. Do you think Trump is seeing this ahead and trying to build his own club of golden members?
Well, yeah, I mean, someone said, "Oh, this is a competitor to the United Nations." There's no such thing. This is, this is
Not that
Trump.
the United Nations needs to be competitive in anyway.
Yeah, no, this is Trump just trying to create an illusion that he's got international support, and he'll have all these other countries that have signed on, but they're not going to have any. They don't have veto power. They're not going to be. There's not a requirement that they consult. There's not a requirement that they all agree on a course of action before a course of action is taken. This is just to, this thing is it's a charade.
So he's just trying to build this to finally win the Nobel Peace Prize, which, by the way, he kind of threatened the Norway, no?
Well, I mean, again, let's go back to what I was talking about earlier with the confabulation that he stopped 8 wars. He genuinely believes that, but that didn't happen. But he wants the Nobel Peace Prize, I guess, to, sort of for his own ego, to say that I'm better, I'm at least as good as Barack Obama, who got a Nobel Peace Prize for doing absolutely nothing. And then again, his obsession with this is not normal. This is not rational. I mean, good God. If I had a friend who was acting this obsessively about some award or some recognition, right away that they were, that there was something wrong, medically wrong. And yet the world continues to just sort of enable this guy.
Yeah, That's that. I've been saying this since he took the position. He seemed very odd since beginning of last year. He's been. Remember that I asked you that, do they put something in the White House drink that people got there and got demented?
No, no, no. It's just once you buy into a program and the reason fables, fairy tales are told, they are created. They're designed to present sort of a fundamental truth about human beings, and that was the rationale behind the story of the king with no clothes, where finally he was deluded into believing that he had this magnificent outfit on, and he was actually bare ass naked. But everybody around him kept saying, that's an incredible outfit. Oh, you look amazing. That is spectacular. And it was left up to a child to say, he's bare ass naked. And then finally woke everybody up from the dream. We're still in the dream state with Donald Trump. He's been a very charismatic guy. There's no denying that he, became quite a media presence, and he's good at branding things. But what he's doing now is not normal. What he's doing now is abnormal. And instead of them putting a halt to it, everybody's enabling him. They're pretending that he's okay and that he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, exactly. Larry, let's move to a safer place than the United States then. Let's talk about Ukraine. And well, actually Ukraine and Greenland. Recently we had Putin. You wrote a perfect piece about Putin, Trump and NATO on advice. Recently we saw what seemed to me to be the most obvious objective since the beginning of the conflict with Ukraine, which was the NATO 1996 boards going back to its place. And it seems to be outright verbosed, put by Putin, that NATO needs to go back to return to its original borders. Do you think the West is listening to this?
Oh, well, no. Again, I think let's define Russia's overall objective is to render NATO ineffective. That is, so there are a variety of ways that you can, if you will, disarm NATO or put NATO in a position where it no longer threatens the United States or threatens Russia. It is what we've seen right now with respect to the whole Greenland operation is Russia's sort of encouraging that. Now, I did just see that Lavrov
Exactly.
said,
I was about to ask. Lavrov said, yeah.
Well, he said that the people of Greenland should have the same right as the people of Crimea. They should vote. If they want to join the United States, let them, and then accept their vote. If they don't, then if they don't vote, if they say, hey, we want to stay with Denmark or we want to be independent, Russia's position is that should be respected. But that said, is there have been, the Russians, both Peskov, Kremlin spokesman, and Putin have been saying all of this, that, if Trump gets Greenland, it'll be a magnificent accomplishment. And they don't really mean that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like right now Russia is the one steering trouble. It's putting gas on the fire pit.
Yeah.
For exactly that to happen.
Yeah. They're helping fan the flames. There was they're doing what I call the Conrad Dobler. This is an obscure reference, but In American football, there was a football player, a lineman, one of the big guys up front. His name was Conrad Dobler, and he was notorious for provoking and starting fights on the football field. And, like he'd say, "Hey, did you hear what this guy said about your sister? That she sleeps with monkeys?" And then so they get the two guys fighting. That's sort of what's Russia's now in that position, helping fan the flames to create more tension within NATO.
Yeah, well, it seems that it's working because NATO right now is a mess. NATO, the European Union, is completely messed up. It's completely messed up. Do you think the United States also wants this situation to keep going like that, so the United States can get rid? Remember we talked about this once. When you were talking about the toxic relations.
Yeah.
And one of the things that the only thing that works to get rid of a toxic relation is not running away from it, it's not trying to be rational, is to make the relation unsustainable for the toxic part. And yeah, of course, we were talking about the United States being the toxic part for Europe and for other actors. But at this point, by the perspective of the United States, NATO, it's a toxic relation for the United States. Do you think that's what the United States also trying to do, make NATO unsustainable for these countries so they can get the hell out of it and the United States get rid of them?
Yeah, no, actually, I disagree. With a toxic relationship, you get the hell out. You don't stick in there. Are you kidding? I mean, no, I mean, seriously.
You can get stalked.
Huh?
You can get stalked.
How?
By the toxic part, if you just run away from it, the toxic part stalks you. So that's the problem of running away from it.
No. You got to distance yourself. I mean, if you stay, I've drawn the parallel with an abusive spouse, whether it's male or female, someone that beats you up, that physically assaults you. So your choice is stay in the house and do nothing, or file a complaint with the police, get them arrested, removed from the house, and get a restraining order that they can't come near you. That's you want to call that running away. You've got to separate yourself from the toxic relationship. Otherwise, you'll wind up dead, likely. And I've been talking about this last couple of days on a personal basis. I got a niece. She got beat up for the second time by her quote husband. I mean, this guy had beat her up. He broke her nose. I physically hurt her, and I'm as angry at her as I am at him, because instead of her filing a complaint with the police, instead of her kicking him out of the house, getting a restraining order, she's doing nothing. And what's going to happen? She's going to wind up dead. He will kill her. I'm drawing the same parallel with these countries that are trying to maintain a relationship with the United States. It is a toxic relationship. There is, while I understand why countries like Russia and China try to continue with diplomatic relationships with the United States, there is no intention on the part of the United States. It's not just Trump. Our culture, the message that dominates in the United States, sees that Russia and China are enemies. They're not friends. They're not potential partners. They are enemies. And because they are seen as enemies, there's no way to deal with them as if they were friends or partners. That's a toxic relationship. And so at that point, you got to figure out, how the hell do I protect myself? That's got to be the primary objective of these countries.
Yeah, exactly. That's strange. And you mentioned something that's very important to understand, Larry, is that Well, we've been talking about the position of the establishment, and also the position of the oligarchs and the governments. But now you talk about the people, and it's interesting. You know, you're a trained CIA guy. Uh, how does the mindset of a population, because this is important of Brazil, you know, I've been recently seeing a trend of weird videos on internet talking about the US doing the same to Lula that it did to Maduro, you know, kidnapping Lula or whatever. um, we know that the United States put its fingers on Brazilian politics. Well, not his fingers, his
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
both hands. And I see that people in Brazil are completely idiotized by the idea that the United States is going to come to Brazil and, you know, fix the country like it did to the whole other countries that invaded or seized somehow. How do you think it's possible to, how do you think these minds get completely washed, and how do you think it's possible to unwash them, or is it impossible?
Well, no, it's not impossible to, to change public opinion, change public attitudes. But one of the main, so the use of information, um, and that's why, like what you're trying to do on this channel, albeit you've got a small audience, but you're putting a message out to try to educate people. The U.S. government spends enormous amounts of money on both covert and overt efforts to influence and shape public opinion. And we saw that most recently over the last 2 weeks with the reporting about what was going on in Iran. Everybody's been told, oh, the government's on the verge of collapse. The population is rising up. They hate the mullahs. They hate the Islamic Republic. They want to be free. And so you condition everybody in the West. Yeah, that's true. I give you just a very simple example. Uh, I heard this a week ago today from a retired 4-star general, who at one point was, well, if I describe his position, you might know who he is. So I'll just leave that out. But he was talking about how the Iranians have killed thousands of Americans. Well, I went and did the research. That's an absolute fundamental lie. It's not true. But he believes it's true. This is another example of confabulation. But once you convince the public that Iran is this implacable enemy, it hates us because they are the Islamic extremists. They hate Jesus. And the number of lies that we're constantly exposed to here in the West that become a foundation for our beliefs. We're taught about, the Judeo-Christian values. Well, the reality is this: Islam recognizes Jesus as a prophet. Judaism does not. There's nothing special about Jesus. He's just some clown who claimed that he had a divine insight. Islam recognizes Mary, the mother of Jesus, as a holy woman, a woman who is respected within Islam and in the Quran. Judaism despises Mary. She's a whore. And yet we talk about Judeo-Christian values. I mean, that's one of the ways that the propaganda works. And within this Judeo-Christian value, we become convinced that Islam is bad, that the Judaism, Zionism is the proper way to go. I mean, it's just it's all deceptive. So the way you change it is you got to get the right information out and you got to push back. But sometimes it takes an outside event, like an economic collapse, like a war, like something horrific, that ultimately will force people to change, to look at something differently. I hope we don't have to get to that point, but I'm afraid we will. I think at this point, the only thing that's going to pull the United States out of this, I call it an ideological death spiral, is it's going to take a war and the United States suffering enormous casualties.
It's extremely sad vision, especially because we know that the United States is it's a train wreck with nukes. Not a train station, a train wreck with nukes. Larry, just to get you out of here today.
You're gonna toss me out now, huh?
I would, yeah, you get the hell out of here. I don't want to listen to you anymore. I'm just kidding. Of course, I just simply love our conversation. First of all, it amuses me, and it's always extremely full of knowledge, and I like to absorb this knowledge. I would like to make a comment also about Brazil and the BRICS, and I agree with you that Brazil's path is with BRICS, but also my vision, my way of seeing things, Brazil on BRICS, its main function, I would say, the main profit for Brazil, the best scenario for Brazil, it's being with BRICS, but also being a Western, bridge between the East and West, and geographically, and let's say culturally, because Brazil inherits the good trade. How can I say it? The Portuguese were always good traders. They were better traders than invaders. They were not very good invaders, although they made a mess here and there, but they were always very good traders. And yeah, we could be this bridge, and it would be better for the United States to have Brazil, alone doing this bridge. It would be better to everybody. But let's see what's coming from it. But just to finish, also about Venezuela, that I forgot about it. Well, we kind of deranged from it. We had the meeting between the CIA director, John Ratcliffe, and Delcy Rodriguez. I would like to understand do you believe that the Venezuelan coup d'etat is a fait accompli? It's done.
No, well, Maduro's no longer there, but the government has not changed, and it hasn't vowed to break relations with Russia, China, or Iran. So they're trying to find some sort of accommodation with Washington. And, Trump hasn't dared to put troops in there. And they're talking about to provide security for the oil platforms, that they're going to use a private security company, like Blackwater or something. Well, if they show up, there's a good chance that they will be killed and or kidnapped. We'll see. No, this is Venezuela is far from stable.
Yeah, that's right. And I would like to see more from Brazil, pushing a little bit of stability for the region. We've been known to be a very stable region for some time.
Yeah, well, it's somebody's got to step up and be a leader and oppose the United States, and sadly, nobody in Latin America has the courage, the spine to do so.
Yeah. Let's see for the next episodes. Larry Johnson, my good friend, thank you very much once again. I would like to remind people again to follow Larry on Countercurrents, the channel. It's here on the description. Also on sonar21.com, where he puts all his daily or weekly videos with the judge, with Nima, which has come back, right? It's here back to Brazil, right?
No, he's not back. He's still in Iran, but he is broadcasting from Iran.
Oh, okay.
And then also Marcelo, your video goes up too.
And my videos are up too. And, Danny Davis and everybody that you just had also redacted with Plato and Natalie Morris.
Yeah.
Always excellent analysis. And yeah, like, share, subscribe, all that. My good friend, thank you very much. And I'll see you next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.